gentlemen, please stand and join the board in the pledge. Hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing and join the board in a moment of silence as we honor our veterans, our first responders, and our active military. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to what looks like is going to be a busy night for our stenographer. We have a number of hearings, but before we do start calling our hearings, because I want to be not waste anyone's time, we did have a hearing that is open from September 10th that we still need some information on. That hearing was for the Eden Blue LLC at 110 Willis Avenue. We are going to continue that hearing from this evening to November 12th. That's the second Wednesday of November, so we will not be voting on that. So if you're here for 110 Willis Avenue, Eden Blue, we are keeping that hearing open, continuing it to November 12th, which time hopefully we'll have all the information that we need in order to make a decision. So with that, Mr. Rivera.
Application of Ryan Uman for a special use permit pursuant to Chapter 550 of the Code of the Incorporated Village of Mineola, entitled Zoning, Section 550-12, entitled B1 District, subsection B, and Section 550-13, entitled B2 Districts, subsection A1, to establish a physical therapy office upon the property known as 144 2nd Street, Mineola, New York, known and designated on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map as Section 9, Block 420, Lot 107.
Thank you. Mr. O'Keefe, affidavit of mailings? Thank you. Mr. Gibbons?
Nassau County Planning Commission has recommended local determination, and I'd ask for a resolution under SEQA declaring this a Type 2 action.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Motion by trustee Solosky, second by Deputy Mayor Sartori. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Before we go on, Mr. Gibbons, do I need to take a vote with the 110 Willis Avenue for continuation? No.
No, the only requirement is that you announce in public a date certain for the continuation of the hearing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, and I'm just going to say this once. The hearings, we have 3 hearings here. The format is going to be the same. Essentially, we're going to ask the applicant to approach the podium, identify yourself and your relationship to the applicant, tell us about your application, at which time the board will ask you any pertinent questions. At the conclusion of your interaction with the board, we would ask you to take a seat, don't go too far. We'll then open it up to public comment. Please take any notes or any questions that the public may ask, and then we're going to ask you to come back up and answer those questions. So again, speak clearly into the microphone, slowly for the stenographer to be able to get your information. So with that, I'd like to call anyone who's here on behalf of Ryan Uman to please approach.
Hello and good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Ryan Uman. I'm the owner of Vitality Physical Therapy, and I'm here to request a special use permit to operate my business, Vitality Physical Therapy, here in Mineola.
Okay, why don't you tell us a little bit about it? So this is on the corner of 2nd Street and Willis Avenue, basically.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the business,
Sure,
hours of operation, staff,
sure,
kind of things that you're going to be doing there.
sure. So currently, I've been in business for the past 3 years. I have a location in Long Island City, Queens. I'm currently opening up this office. This will be my first, sorry, I'll go a little slower. My first standalone office, now that I moved back to Long Island from being in the city. And I'm excited to be here just a few minutes away from where I grew up. And the business essentially is a physical therapy office that offers holistic wellness and longevity and overall health services for people in the community. Our business hours are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And currently, I'm the only staff. I do have a billing team that is on a subcontract type of thing, but they're,
So just to orient myself, is this going to be in those refurbished storefronts?
Yes.
That were made? So you're going to be facing Willis Avenue?
That's
But
correct.
your address is Second Street?
yeah, it is confusing, but yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
Oh,
the entrance
excellent.
is actually off Willis Avenue.
And which of those stores?
I actually have two of the units.
Okay.
It's Unit B and C, so
Excellent,
it's on the right side, so, yeah.
beautiful. And I know parking's a challenge over there, but how many patients do you foresee coming at any one time if you're obviously the only one?
Sure, yeah, so that's a question, I guess, unique to my practice. We do one-on-one treatments mostly, so I don't anticipate having more than 2 or 3 people an hour at a time. So we have about 8 parking spots in that lot,
Mhm.
specifically dedicated for these 2 businesses, myself, and just one other business next door, which I believe is going to be like a hair or scalp restoration type of clinic, but I'm not too sure about that. That's from what I understand. So, yeah, I don't anticipate parking being an issue, just because of our low volume kind of approach, so.
And you do have parking on Second Street. I know that there's construction going on there, but eventually there is municipal parking literally across the street from
Oh,
you.
I
On
didn't know
Second
that.
Street, there is also parking at the Little League fields across the
Yes.
street on Willis.
Yes,
There's a parking garage, on the corner of First and Main. So you'll have plenty of parking. I mean,
That's
this
great
is
to
not
hear.
a high use
Sure.
or high impact. So, thank you for choosing Mineola. And
Yeah,
we
no,
hope that
happy
you're
to be here.
successful here.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Deputy Mayor?
Good evening. Thank you for choosing Mineola. I think this is a perfect location for your business. I don't foresee any problems. You're not bordering any residential areas. You already have spots there for you, so I don't see it being an issue. And thank you for choosing us, and welcome.
Thank you.
Trustee Casado?
I have no questions, Mayor.
Trustee Clark?
No questions.
Trustee Solosky?
I just have one question. On the application, you said retail and office use to physical therapy and fitness center.
Yes.
You're not having yoga classes or Pilates or anything where you would get a massive influx of people?
No.
It's just your typical physical therapy office?
Typical in the way that we include yoga and Pilates and all that stuff into our treatment approach.
Okay.
So not in the sense that there will be 20 people or 15 people or 10 people even coming at a time. It'll probably be max if we do some kind of workshop, like for the community, which is one thing we want to offer people, like, a free low back pain workshop or something. We could talk about like what that cap can be, but I definitely don't want to be, I don't want more than 10 or 15 people max for that kind of thing, but that's not something we would be doing often.
On a regular basis?
Maybe like once a month. It's just something to offer the community, so.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Anything else, Trustee Solosky?
No.
No? Okay, we'll ask you to just take a seat. Anyone in the second row? Anyone in the third row? Fourth row? Sixth row? Seventh row? Come back up. Okay. So the improvements done there are great.
Yeah.
That used to be a beverage barn
I
and
heard,
and a
yeah.
deli
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
It was kind of run down. We're glad that the property owner did invest some money, and he really did a very, very nice job with it. And
Yeah.
this is a great business. Obviously, what was there before was a deli and a beverage distributor, so people were coming in and out, coming in and
Mhm.
out. And it's tough to come in and out of there
Yeah.
on Willis, so consistently. What I do ask is, that's Mr. O'Keefe there. He's the superintendent of the building department, so any signage or any, work that you're looking to do, please make sure that, he's here to help you. We don't want to issue, stop work orders or anything like that. We don't want signs that are not conforming with what we permit. Same thing with the covering of the windows. We do have regulations, how much you can cover it. Sometimes people put stickers and other
Sure.
kinds of things. So we don't want to have you invest money and time and effort and then have us go and tell you have to take it down. So any questions, any issues that you have, speak to Mr. O'Keefe.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's actually been a great help. I've called him like 5 times at this point already and asked him about a lot of questions so far, so, yeah.
He told you to say that, didn't he?
No, this is the first time meeting him, so.
Well, again, echoing the rest of the board, welcome back home.
Thank
Welcome
you.
to Mineola.
Thank
We
you.
hope that you are very, very successful, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Okay? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
Motion by
Second.
Deputy Mayor Sartori, second by Trustee Casado. Mr. Rivera, please poll the board.
Yes.
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 Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys can clap. And you don't have to stay for the rest of the night. You can go. Sure. Talk to him. Yep. Talk to Mr. O'Keefe. Okay, Mr. Rivera.
Application of Joshua Jefferson for a special use permit pursuant to Chapter 550 of the Code of the Incorporated Village of Mineola, entitled zoning, Section 550-12, entitled B1 District, subsection B, to establish a fitness studio gym upon the property known as 465 Jericho Turnpike, Mineola, New York, known and designated on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map as Section 9, Block 28, Lot 41.
Mr. O'Keefe? Thank you. And Mr. Gibbons?
Nassau County Planning Commission has recommended local determination, and I'd ask for a resolution under CEQA declaring this a type 2 action.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Trustee Casado. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Clark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Mr. Jefferson. Good evening.
Good evening. Sorry about that.
That's all.
Joshua Jefferson. I've owned Double J Fitness, Inc. for the last 5 years, of which I am currently running a gym out of Hicksville. And I'm looking to make a move over to Mineola, and this is just a far better community, a far better space.
We
that I would
agree.
love-
We agree.
that I would absolutely love to grow my business here. There was a little bit of misspeak. It's going to be more of a private training facility as opposed to a full-blown open gym. So I just wanted to clarify that.
So same thing as the previous applicant, if you want to just kind of walk us through your business, hours of operation, number of people, things of that nature.
Yes, sir.
Parking, garbage.
Yes, sir. So hours of operation are at most going to be 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. The reason being is that there's obviously different hours that people need personal training. Employees, there may be 1 or 2 at most, but realistically, it would be more so of an independent trainer, if anything. Realistically, it depends on if people are interested in the location and their clients would actually be willing to go to said location. I also wanted to introduce, this is Latanya, my mother, who is also the CFO of the company, so I didn't get a chance to do that yet.
What
But-
did you feed him when he was a baby?
That's our next application.
Did you want to?
No, you can, I mean, he wants to know about.
7 days a week?
So as of right now, I would say 7 days a week. I like to work. I like to help people change their lives. So if I'm there 7 days a week, that means a good thing for me. If I'm there 4 days a week, obviously not so great. So I would prefer to be there more often than not.
Okay, just for reference, this would be next to Mineola Bicycle on Jericho Turnpike, across the street from the boxing gym, pretty much,
Yes.
kind of, 1 block west of the Bola gas station.
Yes.
Right there.
Yes, correct.
And behind you, there's an easement, there's kind of like parking, so you're not right up against the homes on that. There's kind of an alleyway where you could park, for example, probably not your clients, but where you could park. So this used to be like a stereo car place. What was it previously?
I believe back in the day, it had something to do with car, because you still kind of see the old platform in it. And
Right.
the current owner said it used to be something with a car dealership, not dealership, but auto repair or something.
So it used to be,
Mhm.
when these things were big, is remote starters for
Oh, wow.
cars, when
Okay.
remote starting wasn't just like standard. obviously, that is no longer an industry, so I believe the gentleman, and also like installing radios and things like that, things that people just don't do anymore in their cars. But there was a gym 2 doors down from you. I assume that it's not there anymore. I think it's a wedding place now, a wedding photography place. But that was, for a little while, a very similar use. I don't know how long they were there, but there was a very similar one-on-one. So this is essentially like a one-on-one gym. This is not somebody, 30 people aren't going to walk off the street
No.
and work out.
No, absolute most, it would be 10 to 12 people.
Okay.
And that would be if there were other trainers to train their clients in there as well.
Okay. The only thing that I would ask you, obviously, any kind of music, be ambient, door in the back closed, so especially at 4, 5, 6 in the morning.
Absolutely.
It's not, and we would also ask, and we'll make this a condition, that will there be any like deadlifting and things like that, like free weights?
At the gym?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So that stuff we would want you to put towards the front of the
Absolutely.
building rather than the back. We'd also ask you to put in appropriate padding, so when people like you pick things up and put them down, they don't, shake the whole neighborhood. So those are things that we're gonna have to work out with the building department, but I think that in your industry, there are, the thickness of the padding and all that to absorb, and platforms for those kinds of maneuvers, so that it's not, people aren't hearing the clinking of weights,
Absolutely.
every 2 minutes, because they're gonna come knocking on my door, and then I'm gonna go knocking on your door. So just be aware that you're still, I know you're on Jericho Turnpike, but there is a neighborhood right behind you. So just be aware of that, and plan your, because although it may only be 50 or 60 feet, but if you're in the front of the store rather than the back of the store, that could make all the difference to that first neighbor living right behind you,
Absolutely.
okay? And the same thing as I said earlier, signs, lighting, things of that nature, work with our building department, so that you do it once and you do it right, and you don't have to worry about it again. We're very helpful to walk you through this kind of thing. Sometimes your landlords may, I'm not saying that this is the case, they may say, don't worry about it, we'll just do it and, ask for forgiveness later. We'd rather you ask for permission first, get it right, do it once. There is metered parking in front of your business. We would ask that you encourage your clients to use that first. There's also a municipal lot, a public parking lot, behind the gas station that your clients can use. I'm telling you that because I would ask you to ask your clients not to park down the residential street. Although it's a public street, we all know, somebody parks in front of your house, first thing you do is who's that guy, right? So to avoid that, right, I know you want to run a successful business, but you also want, as much as possible, to stay off the radar with the neighbors, right? And you do that by being a good neighbor. So don't park in front of their house, don't make noise at 4 in the morning. You actually do have some options for parking right there that are free. Well, I mean, obviously the meters in front of the store are not free, but the parking lot behind the Bola gas station, that's ours, and you can park there, okay?
I have a question.
yeah.
Isn't there's two, right? Isn't there
There's
another
one on the
gas
other
pole?
block too,
Right?
exactly,
Okay,
right
okay.
behind that nice building, on the other corner,
Right,
yes,
right.
exactly, so you
Bicycle
actually,
side.
yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right.
On the bicycle side there's another parking lot that's also a municipal lot, so you have plenty of options there, okay?
Okay, great.
Deputy Mayor?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
No questions.
Okay.
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Nothing, okay. We'll ask you to have a seat.
Thank you.
Anybody in the second row? Anybody in the third row? Fourth row? Sixth row? Seventh row? Okay, I think they're intimidated by you. Come on up. Come on up. So again, I just want to repeat this. I'm going to make this a part of the condition that all precautions are taken to keep the noise level to a minimum. So that means music, that means the dropping of weights, and keeping that back door closed. So make sure that you have air conditioning that works and heating that works, because obviously if you open that back door and you're working out and you have music, that's going to travel.
Right.
Okay? So we just want you to be a good neighbor, and we agree with you that this is much better than Hicksville, but we want us to both be happy about that. So with that, do you have any other questions for us?
No.
Nope. Okay. We have a great Chamber of Commerce. We
Yes.
just had our street fair this past weekend. Thousands of people right here on Jericho Turnpike. We don't go that far west, but I would say join the chamber. It's a good networking ability. They have meetings once a month. You know, get to know people that are, some people are in the same industry you're in, other people are in other industries, but it's a great way. We do lots of events. Just this upcoming weekend, we have our Fall Harvest Festival in Memorial Park. As a Mineola vendor, you would be able to do that for free. We would not charge you. If you're from outside the village, we charge. We have a holiday festival, so if you want to, you know, get to know the community, reach out to the schools. You have Chaminade right there. You have Mineola High School there, but certainly, you know, the chamber, they have a website. You can reach out. It's very, very cheap for a year, but it's a good way to kind of get to be part of
We
the
love
community.
Chaminade, but he graduated St. Anthony's.
Or
Probably shouldn't say that.
or Chaminade likes to say, you know, the guys that beat him all the time. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
Motion by trustee Clark, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sartori. Please pull the board, Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
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 Yes. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Welcome to Mineola.
Thank
Welcome.
you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much.
Thank you.
Application of Mineola 199 LLC for a special use permit pursuant to Chapter 550 of the Code of the Incorporated Village of Mineola, entitled Zoning, Section 550-15.2, entitled Jericho Turnpike Overlay District, to construct a 4-story, 30-unit apartment building with on-grade parking upon the property known as 199 Jericho Turnpike, Mineola, New York, known and designated on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map as Section 9, Block 405, Lot 129.
Thank you. Mr. O'Keefe, affidavit of mailing? Thank you. Mr. Gibbons?
Nassau County Planning Commission has recommended local determination, and I'd ask for a motion under SEQA declaring this a unlisted action.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Motion by trustee Salaski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Clark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll pass it down.
Thank you.
Here's one for you. Oh, maybe if you want to give one to John.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good
How are
evening.
you?
Good evening, Mayor and Board of Trustees, and Mr. Gibbons. Good evening. I'm very excited to be here
Just
tonight.
introduce yourself
Oh,
for
sorry.
the,
Adam Mann, representing Mineola 199 LLC, the property owner, 2 Jericho Plaza, Jericho, New York, 11753. I'm very excited to be here tonight to present the redevelopment of 199 Jericho Turnpike, the former Bank of America. With me tonight is my partner Scott Berman, Bill Novak from William S. Novak Architect, and Frank Filicciotto from Labella. We are proposing the transformation of an historic bank building, which has been vacant now for over 3 years, into a modern mixed-use rental building that will fill a void for renters who have been priced out of the downtown market. The project will provide much-needed housing while preserving the character of the existing structure. By revitalizing this property, we aim to strengthen the Jericho Turnpike corridor, expand housing options, create a welcoming entryway to the village, and satisfy the objectives of the Jericho Turnpike Overlay District for which this property is situated. After our acquisition of the property in early 2024, we began the design of a new building on the property, which included the demolition of the existing structure. We heard from the village and the community that they strongly desired that the facade of the bank remain in some capacity. Given that it was built in 1929, fast approaching 100 years, I could understand such desires. With that in mind, we went back to the drawing board and did not take the task lightly when approaching the new design. The site occupies one of the most visible and consequential locations in the area, fronting two roadways that carry approximately 45,000 vehicles each day. In that regard, this building is not simply another address on Jericho Turnpike. It is the de facto gateway to the village. From the outset, our design process was driven by a deep sense of responsibility. We understood that every architectural decision would contribute to the first impression of the village. The building needed to embody both functionality and pride of place, serving as a visual threshold that announces arrival into the community. We sought to design a facade that is bold yet refined, one that reflects contemporary standards of design while respecting the established character of the building and the village. Durable materials, thoughtful detailing, and cohesive architectural elements were all chosen with the intent of creating a building that will stand the test of time aesthetically. In short, the design of 199 Jericho Turnpike was not treated as a routine exercise, but as a statement of stewardship. It represents our commitment to the village, our understanding of the site's civic importance, and our belief that Mineola deserves the building as its gateway. And with that, what you have in front of you and what's behind me is not what was submitted. What was submitted, we decided was okay. And so we went back to the drawing board, and thanks to Bill Novak, who I know has been before this board before, we created something new. We maintained the facades like we had always promised to do, but we've now come up with a completely new design, which I hope you all agree is absolutely stunning. So to highlight the plans for the property, we are seeking approval sought pursuant to Section 550-15.2 of the Village Code for a special permit for development with incentive bonuses, site plan approval, and architectural approval. The redevelopment provides for the construction of a mixed-use building of approximately 40,000 square feet on an approximately half-acre parcel with frontage along Jericho Turnpike, Mineola Boulevard, and Washington Avenue. The project will feature 30 residential rental apartments and an approximately 2,400 square foot retail space at street level with double height ceilings at the corner of Jericho Turnpike and Mineola Boulevard. The building will also include an at-grade parking lot with 35 spaces. The property is currently located in the B1 district and requires relief for the following. Front yard, the required front yard setback is 5 feet, proposed is 2.5 feet. Stories in height, the code proposes 2 stories at 25 feet. We're proposing 4 stories, and our initial submission proposed a 41.4 foot tall building, and with this new design, we've increased it slightly to 43.1 feet. Also point of reference, the new fire department, or the relatively new fire department from our research is 45.2 feet to the top of the roof. So we are under the footprint of the roof of the fire department building just to the east. And just one other quick tangent with the fire department, I have met with Chief Strauss and shown him the site plan, and he and his the second chief and the third chief had no objections. Unit size, we are proposed unit size are 750 square feet to 1,300 square feet, whereas the code requires a minimum of 1,000. One other slight change from what we submitted. The plans we submitted proposed 23 one-bedrooms and 7 two-bedrooms. The revised plans are 19 ones and 11 twos. Parking, 2 parking stalls are required per code, which would be 60. We're proposing 35. Frank, who will come up, he can speak more eloquently than I can to that. And then we're requesting minor relief for parking space dimensions. In addition, we submitted an amenities letter to the village where we're proposing substantial streetscape improvements, presentation of the historic bank building facade, 3 units of affordable housing. But what I also want to call to the board's attention, because it's been some time, we are also the developer of the project known as The Bridge down by the train station, 212 to 214 3rd Street. And that project was approved with 12 affordable housing units. And we have, as it was contemplated in this decision, and we have submitted a letter to the village, that decision allows us to locate, as does the code, allows us to locate those affordable units elsewhere within the village. So we are proposing to locate the 12 units that were approved to the bridge at this project. That would be in addition to the 3 units. 30 units at 10% would be 3. So this project would have 15, half the units would be affordable. In addition, we have not approached the IDA yet, but in full disclosure, we do intend to. Obviously, we know we start with the village before we go to the IDA, so that would be a next step. We would have a community host agreement to make the village whole, and we are also proposing a contribution to the village of $10,000 per unit as consistent with the amenities letter. That concludes my direct presentation. The one other thing I would like to say is I would like to assure the board that if we are fortunate enough to get approval, we would look to break ground on this project expeditiously. Obviously, we'd have to put together construction drawings, but this approval would foster us to hit the ground running, to break ground and get this project going. So before I turn it over to Frank, I will entertain any questions.
I don't have any questions. Is it?
I just didn't hear what you said about when you're gonna break ground?
So assuming we obtain approval, we still have to put together construction drawings. So I would say it's probably about 4 months between drawings and then getting permits.
4 months. How long have you had the permit for the bridge?
The bridge, we have a demolition permit in for review. So we're waiting for that, and we are finishing up construction drawings, and we will have that set into the village before the end of the year and probably in November.
Okay, I think I'd rather hear the presentation in its entirety, and then we could ask any questions. So perhaps we can bring up the architect to tell us about the architectural features, setbacks. It looks like the 3rd and 4th floor setbacks slightly.
Correct.
So if you could just
Correct.
walk us through that, and then the parking situation as well.
Sure.
Okay?
And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we submitted an application to the New York State Forward Program because as much as we wanted to save the facades, that comes at a substantial cost. And I'm sure the board is aware, but as I said, I felt I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it, that we were awarded a grant in connection with the New York State Forward. We're in the midst of paperwork with them, and so we are excited that that will help us facilitate maintaining the facade.
Great. Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Good evening, Board.
Good
William
evening.
Novak, architect for this project. In terms of the 3rd and 4th floor, the setback is 8 feet. That was driven primarily by the overhead power lines and relief from those.
Can you tell us what type of building are you looking at? Are we using stick over
It'd be a-
concrete platform?
Correct, it'll be a podium concrete for the 1st floor, stick over that for 3 floors.
And if I remember correctly, the first iterations, does the building on Mineola Boulevard go the full length to Washington Avenue? What's the rear setback?
That has not changed since the first submission.
So it
It's
goes,
the exact footprint,
right, so it goes all the way to the back.
correct,
But on the east side, the parking's open.
yes,
So there's a portion of the parking that is not, that the building is not open,
correct,
correct?
correct.
Okay. And the second and third, the 3rd and 4th floor, they are identical?
Yes.
Correct.
Difference being on the second is the retail.
So how do you plan, and what's the plan, I mean, if you could just walk through us real quickly, of preserving the facade? How do we go about doing that? How do you go about doing that? Like, it looks very nice now, but you could start to do demolition and realize that, it's not salvageable, or do you take the stone down and then put it back up? How does that work? How are we gonna do that?
We hope not to take the stone down. We'll have a forensic structural engineer come in and check it out for us. The intent is to keep the facade intact, power wash it, clean it, whatever we can to clean it up, and see how that comes out. It's limestone, it's, like you said, almost 100 years old. It's very thick. By all account, it looks very stable. So we're hoping for the best with that.
Is there currently a basement in that building?
Do you know that, Adam? Partial.
Is that gonna stay, or that's gonna remain? And that will be storage or something along those lines? Okay.
We have had a structural engineer in the building to do a preliminary analysis of how to maintain the facade while we demolish the rest of the building. So we have some sketches, so we have started that process.
Okay, and I noticed that on the drawings, which I mean, I, not one way or the other, are you looking to keep the words, whatever, Federal Bank on there, or you get, because two of the letters seem to be gone, but I mean, you could probably, what's the plan for that? Because part of me says, I think it would look cool if you
Yeah.
kept the name there, but obviously, if it doesn't work, I would understand that as well. What is your plan?
Bill's more creative than I am, so I'll
I
punt to him.
agree, I think it'd be pretty cool to keep it as well. And I
Okay.
think the missing letters, we could recreate that.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. That would be my wish then. I mean, it's not like it's a deal
Sure,
breaker, but
we'll
I
attempt
think
that.
it definitely does add to the historic
Exactly.
nature
Yeah.
and charm of it. Deputy Mayor, any questions?
Yes. Hi. So, yes, this is different than you originally sent us, and thank you for changing it.
Yes.
So I have a couple of questions. One is, on what you originally sent us, I thought you said that the car entrances, everything was gonna be shut off except for Washington. But on this rendering, it looks like there's a curb cut and a garage on Jericho.
Good pickup. So Frank will touch on that more. So originally, yes, the plan was to shut down the driveway that's currently on Jericho Turnpike. Bill and I have been looking at, would it be beneficial for cars to only be able to leave that driveway, cars within the property? We've been discussing it, not sure the answer. Obviously, if we were going to propose that, it would be subject to approval by the New York State DOT.
And obviously a right turn only.
Yes.
More from a safety
so-
precaution.
My input on that, I'm sure everyone has an opinion on this, and yes, DOT would have to get involved. I don't like cars coming out of Jericho, but that particular stretch of Jericho has a lot of traffic often, and there's fire trucks that come down there, and Washington is a much easier
we're okay
street
with
from a
that.
traffic perspective. I would prefer it on
We're okay with
Washington,
that.
and
Yeah.
obviously
Yeah.
we're open to
Agreed,
it.
if you sit on bumper to bumper between Herrick's Road and Glen Cove Road, but
Mhm.
really there, to the point where you have some not-so-smart drivers who block the box, if you will. So it'd be almost impossible for your tenants to pull out at certain times. And Village Hall is here. We do have 2 residential homes on Washington, but I think it's a much easier lift for them to come out on Washington and then head either east or west on Washington, and then head north or south
Yep.
on Mineola Boulevard or Willis, whereas here onto Jericho, you're just adding fuel to the fire. So, and not to mention line of sight,
Yeah.
traffic, and then take away when there is no traffic. Let's say it's at 11 o'clock at night, then you have people zipping down Jericho. So if somebody gets distracted for a second, or if there's somebody parked there, in front, and the line of sight is such that they can't see, I just think it's dangerous. It adds to the traffic problem there. I think on Washington, Village Hall is really the only show in town on this street, and we're open 8:30 to 4:30, so it doesn't have the volume that you have there. So for me, I would rather close that, not to mention you'd gain a parking
Yes,
spot.
exactly.
Yes.
That was actually in our amenities letter too,
Right.
that it would gain it. So we're okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're absolutely okay.
That parking spot would be helpful for your retail portion too.
And just to clarify, so this element would
Correct.
Right.
So, all right, so you're gonna eliminate that, you're gonna
Yeah.
eliminate?
Yeah.
Jericho?
Correct,
All right, 'cause that was
correct.
my question, okay.
Correct.
Can you explain a little bit, the retail is totally closed off, so I see the retail entrance is, I'm assuming, the old bank entrance, and the entrance to the apartments is on Washington. And that's totally closed off internally, right? There's no from one to the other when you're inside the building?
Correct. Correct.
Okay. And now I see that there are, there's shrubbery showing on top of the second floor. Is that outdoor amenity space for the apartments, for the building, for anything?
Good question. We were discussing that, and right now we don't have clarity. I don't know if the board has an opinion one way or another.
I don't, if it's for the apartments or just for the building, I don't really have an opinion one way or the other. I mean, we definitely have some buildings in our community that have that, so I wouldn't object to it. I want to just make sure it wasn't public amenities.
No, it would be either private to the unit or, like you said,
Okay.
an amenity to residents, but not to the
Okay.
public.
My only concern about it being private to the unit is then you see everybody's stuff up there. Where if it's just building space, it's maintained.
The reason we're leaning against it is because of the first thing you just said. The second would be, as soon as you get people up there, I now have to separate the apartments,
Yes,
which is.
and it
very
changes the whole look too.
Right.
So, okay, so that just needs to be clarified, I think, too, before we vote on this. My only other comment is, yes, I think the building looks very nice, very nice. It fits in with the character of that area. My only comment is 30 apartments to me is a lot. I don't know how everybody else feels on this board. We have about another 2 dozen going up down the street. We're starting to be a little bit crowded there. I would prefer it to be less than 30. That's just my viewpoint on it. Also, from a parking perspective, you only have half the spots. So if you have less people, less apartments, you'd actually need some less spots anyway. So I think it's beautiful. I think it has a lot of potential. Some fine tuning needs to be done, and I would like to see less apartments personally. But that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Trustee Casado?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good
So
evening.
first floor is parking. Is that strictly for the residential or?
Correct.
So if I want to shop in the retail, I have to park on Jericho Turnpike, I guess?
Or in the municipal lot, and I
Okay,
know
well,
Frank
okay.
will be speaking about parking.
Okay. And you know what? I guess because it's the brick and that chamfer, to me, it looks like City Field.
Huh.
I mean, that's the first, my
Yeah,
first
I could
thought.
see it a little bit.
Especially with that little chamfer, because that City Field has the radius in front. Maybe it's the color of the brick, but whatever, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Clark?
Good decision on changing the building.
Yes,
I like it
agreed.
a lot better. I also agree with Janine, if you can make it a few less apartments, that'd be good, but looks okay.
So I'll say this, that if the unit count were 24, then you would be in compliance with the 35 spots. The question that I have for you is, because we had this discussion during the bridge, and I do appreciate you offering to cite the affordable component here. I have no problem with that. We did that with the Allure,
Right.
right? So that's not the issue. But if I remember correctly, we were not sure, you weren't sure, we weren't sure if you even had to do that because the bridge is
Correct.
condos,
Correct.
not rentals.
Correct.
Do you have an answer for that yet? Like, or are you doing this because you're so nice? Are you doing this because you have to? Because then I have a way for both of us to get out of this.
So
Or
I
suggestion.
still don't have certainty on whether I have to, but I said here when we came for the second approval on the bridge, where I committed to doing it then, even though this project was not even on the board at the time. So being that I said it, I'm certainly not looking to go back on my word, so I'm still committed to offering it / doing it.
Right, which we appreciate, because that means it would be 15 out of the
Correct.
30.
Correct.
That would be
Correct.
next generation workforce housing, or have the 10% set aside. I think this board would not have any problem. I mean, obviously, we'd have to check to make sure that we're in compliance with all applicable, but we would hold you to 12 instead of 15 out of 24 instead of 30, or we would hold you to 10 instead of 15 out of 24, so that it works for you, it works for us. If you're I mean, we're not gonna decide that tonight, but if there's another, because then your parking deficiency goes away. The board members that have expressed concerns about the number of units goes away. And in terms of the bottom line, it would work for you because now instead of 15 affordable units, you would have to do 10 affordable units. Or maybe you'd have to do only 3. We could get a decision,
Mhm.
you know, we'd work with Mr. Gibbons, and we'd work with the IDA, we'd work with the Long Island Housing Partnership and figure out and get some guidance, because I do appreciate, I mean, and I do think you hit on something that's very important, and that is that we have built, not we have built, but some beautiful buildings have been built in the downtown, including your proposed building, the
Mhm.
bridge. That is for a certain demographic, for a certain client, right? And people have been saying, well, what about my kid who's home from college, and I don't need a gym and a pool and a doorman and all that. I just want something nice and safe and convenient, but that is at a different price point than what the bridge or the other ones are. And I think you are filling that void there by doing that, but there are, and I know that the firehouse is 45 feet, but the firehouse is a firehouse,
Mhm.
right? And it may be 45 feet to the very tippy top of that one tower. So again, we're throwing it out there, something to think about, that maybe instead of 30, we do 24, and maybe instead of 15 affordable, we do, 10 affordable. We'll work that out, but that's something that we can continue. Is that fair?
Yes, I think that's a good idea. I do agree with you. I think that I hate the term affordable housing, but I think it's an important component in our village and all of Nassau County and Long Island. So I think that's a great idea. It would solve the parking issue because it's a crowded area anyway. So yes, I think that's a wonderful proposal.
Just one other question, Mayor.
Sure.
What's the east side and the south side of the building look like? I don't see that.
The east, we haven't actually developed those
Yeah, we haven't.
elevations yet. The south side, we would carry it. The east side's looking into the parking lot, so that we haven't developed yet.
Now what?
The east side looks into the parking.
Right, so
of-
is that windows on that?
There will be, yeah, there is windows. Yeah.
So it
yeah,
looks like
there's
the rest of
apartments
the
over
building,
there.
it's not a flat cement?
No, there will be windows there, yeah, yeah, correct.
Right, because by code, you're far away enough from the neighboring property
Yes.
that you're able to have windows. Had you gone fully, completely over the parking lot, then that may change, because then fire code wouldn't permit you
Yes,
to have.
lot line issues.
Right, okay. Trustee Salaski.
I like the idea of exiting and entering on Washington Avenue, not only for the traffic on Jericho, but this is a busy corner with pedestrians walking. And we all know pedestrians are always looking at their phone, me included. As
Me
they're
included.
walking, they're not looking for cars. So I think to have the cars enter and exit on Washington is probably a great idea. This new design, much, much better than the one you originally submitted, so I thank you for that. And my only other question, is there going to be a super on site in the building?
At 30 units or 24 units or whatever the number ends up, typically you don't have a full-time super on site,
Okay,
but there would certainly be part-time.
okay, thank you.
And as far as the parking, because we don't have the Washington Avenue elevation, but I assume that there would be like a key fob, or like, in other words, I couldn't go park there, right? It would be
Correct.
so there'd be
Correct.
some kind of gate or some kind of security that would
Correct.
secure those spots.
Controlled access into the parking and then controlled access into the building.
Okay. And I just want to put this on the record, and I think you remember this from other applications, that each unit would have to have a parking spot assigned, and that would be part of their rent. It cannot be in lieu of, in other words, it cannot be an additional charge, because then what would happen is they would forego your charge and they would fill up our parking lot.
Right.
So the rent, whatever it ends up being, the number of units, whatever they end up being, the first spot has to come with the unit. That's been the part of every decision that we've done. That would be written into the decision. Okay?
We actually incorporated that into the code.
Oh, okay, there you go. We've got one step back, but it's worth mentioning again, because we learned our lesson from the first building that we built, where we kind of didn't do that, and then we started to learn that people got, very smart about getting a $250 village parking permit and then save thousands of dollars on parking in the building. But that's, the whole point is for you to keep your people in your building. And I know that there are gonna be visitors, and I know that there's gonna be a retail space, but we also do have dozens, if not over 100 spots of municipal parking immediately to the east, on both sides of the firehouse, that are not utilized heavily on weekends and evenings, wide open. You have a parking lot across the street from you, on Banbury and Mineola Boulevard, which is also metered. So there are plenty of options for those that would be visiting this building that don't have a parking spot there. Certainly if they're visiting off business hours, for dinner in the evening, on weekends, et cetera. Obviously, this area here is not highly populated with cars in the off hours. So I'm not too concerned about that, but I am concerned that there are only 35 spots for 30 units. That is problematic, but we're gonna hear from your parking.
Yes, and Franco also mentioned we did, in our traffic study, which was submitted to the board, which we'll speak about, we did do a capacity analysis of some of those parking lots to be able to speak to
Okay.
how underutilized they are.
Great. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees.
Good evening.
For the record, Frank A. Filiciotto, F as in Frank, I-L-I-C-I-O-T-T-O, with the firm Labella Associates, 1 North Broadway, White Plains. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New York, 22 years of experience in the field of traffic engineering, parking, site design, transportation planning, you name it. I was also the consultant on the bridge project, so I appeared before this board probably 2023 or somewhere around that.
Too long ago.
Yeah.
You walked right into that one.
Yeah.
I didn't mean it in that way, but
And Mr. Mann didn't even hear it.
post-COVID time has warped, I think, a lot of our minds into thinking years are more recent than they are. So thanks for the opportunity. We prepared a traffic and parking study June 25th, 2025. It may be in your packets. I just wanted to run through that. We hit on traffic generation, comparing it to the prior use of the property. We looked at parking extensively. We also looked at site access and circulation. I'll start there. There was a dialogue before I got up about the driveway on Jericho Turnpike. This study, the one that's before you, assumed that it would be closed.
Okay.
And I fully agree with the sentiment of the board. The reduction in conflict points, both with pedestrians and vehicles, is a positive. There's also a driveway consolidation proposed on Washington. So this site has 2 driveways on Washington. One was the drive-through only access, one way, and then you have the 2-way. 2 curb cuts going down to 1 on Washington also. So it's quite a consolidation of access that I think is an overall positive. From a traffic standpoint, what we did was we counted the intersection of Mineola Boulevard and Jericho Turnpike in May of this year. During traditional peak periods in the morning, in the evening, and then on Saturday. We know the number of vehicles entering the intersection. It's a lot, as you all know. And what we did was we compared the traffic generation associated with this site and evaluated it from a percentage increase standpoint. The proposed use of 30 units with 2,400 square feet of commercial will generate about 30 trips during the peak hours, 30 to 35 trips during the peak hours. So about 1 trip every 2 minutes, give or take, during the peak hours. When you contrast that with the historical use of the property, I know it's been a number of years since that bank operated at full tilt, but drive-in banks are much more intensive uses, to the tune of 150 trips during the peak hour on a Saturday, or 122 during the peak hour in the afternoon on a rush hour. So even though it's been shuttered for a while and it's quiet, historically that site was much more active. But what's proposed is a fraction of what that site used to do or has the potential to do if it was to be reopened as a bank, which is not the proposal. So I think from a traffic standpoint, it's a much more calmer use. It's less transient, so people are living there. There's not as many ins and outs. Usually with residential uses, you have, you know, an outflux in the morning and then an influx in the evening. With the commercial, it's a small commercial space, kind of blends in with the neighborhood. There's people probably on the streets already who are going to be future patrons of whatever ends up going in that space. So traffic standpoint, not really a concern from an impact standpoint. As I said, about 1%, the proposed traffic accounts for about 1% of the total vehicular volume at Mineola Boulevard in Jericho, so it's a very small amount. When it comes to parking, so my philosophy on parking, and we've seen this change over the past 20 years in the field, people, as we've built more multifamily, as we've built more apartments, especially apartments that are in areas where there's multimodal opportunities. Certainly you have a robust sidewalk network on Mineola Boulevard. You have a rich transit environment. You have 4 bus lines on Jericho Turnpike and Mineola Boulevard. You're not that far from the train station. You start to see vehicle ownership start to decrease. So when you're looking at the zoning code requires 70 for 35 units. We're sometimes thinking, well, zoning code says 70, so that means there's going to be 70. Well, that's not what data has shown. A site like this, 30 units, would be expected in the worst case peak period to have about 38 vehicles parked for the residential component of this site, worst case scenario. That's far less than 2 per unit. In fact, it's just over 1 per unit. So I think our mindset is very much, if the zoning code says it's 70, then it's going to be 70. That's really hasn't bared out in actual data when it comes to multifamily developments. And these types of developments tend to self-select as a single-family home self-selects. A single-family home with a 3-car garage is going to draw a family that prioritizes the vehicle very much. Whereas a 1-bedroom apartment on a busy corner in Mineola, a mile from the train station with 4 bus lines, is going to attract a different type of resident. So there's a self-selection process that happens with these types of buildings. And I'm not saying that there's going to be no parking. People are going to have cars. It's Long Island. But not to the degree that the zoning code is asking us to meet. So I think there's consideration here, and I'll get into the parking in the area. There's 154 spaces within a 1-block radius on the south side of Jericho. So not even considering the north side, which we didn't factor because we didn't want to assume that someone was going to cross Jericho and to park and then walk. But 154 spaces when you consider the south side of Jericho and then Washington between Horton and Willis. And the 2 lots, one which is right here, lot number 11, and then lot number 17, which is directly adjacent to our property. So 159 spaces total, 45 of which are located in lot 17, which is directly adjacent to our site. And we found very, very minimal use of the parking in that location. And overnight, there's no fee. You can park there between 6 p.m. and 8 a.m. for no cost. Again, we recognize that you don't want to create a problem by inviting people to park there for free, so definitely understand the village's reason to bundle the parking in that situation. But with 30 units, you'd have 1 per unit, 5 additional spaces for guests or things like that, and then you'd have the public parking assets right next door to account for any potential overflow. So I think I feel comfortable from a parking standpoint that you wouldn't be creating a problem, a parking issue and a parking issue to me is when the inability to find parking creates safety issues. That's when it starts to become a problem. if it takes 30 seconds longer, again, it's 30 seconds. But when it starts to create redundant maneuvers through neighborhoods, dangerous turns or illegal turns, that's when you would be concerned about it. And I don't see that happening here because you have the resources right next door. Of the 45 spaces in lot 17, we made observations in late May. In the midday period, like around noon, it was about half full, 22 out of 45. At 5 p.m., it was still about half full, 21 out of 45 spaces were observed. And then overnight, we did a midnight observation. Only 6 spaces were occupied. So there's a wealth of parking right next door. So I think if the decision is to reduce the number of units is based solely on parking, I don't know if there's a clear nexus there. I understand it for other reasons, but from a parking standpoint, I think there's adequate resources on the site and in the nearby vicinity to support that. So I think that kind of hit on my study at a high level. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about any of the content. Thank you.
Thank you. I think your presentation not only is grounded in, in your field, but also in our experience, because we have noticed, just like you've noticed, that even at 1.5, most of our multifamily buildings are overparked, because just as you said, not everybody has a car now, not everybody has 2 cars. Having said that, we're still on Long Island, we're still in central Nassau County, and we'd still rather be overparked than underparked. We have anecdotally observed that we're probably at 1.25 more than we are at 1.5, even in the overlay districts. And by the way, this overlay district, the Jericho Turnpike overlay district, the code, or this incentive code, calls for 1.5. So it's not 2, although although the underlying code is 2. The overlay district is 1.5. So that's something that we're going to have to look at. I don't think that the trustees and the deputy mayor's concerns are solely based on parking for, questioning the number of units.
Sure.
That's certainly a mitigating factor, but there's more to it. But to your point, I think everything you said, I've said here, and I agree with. A residential building will produce less trips than a bank or a doctor's office or any use where people come and go every 15 minutes, every 10 minutes, every 5 minutes. I mean, that's just common sense.
Sure.
I don't need to have 22 years of traffic
Right.
engineering
Right.
experience to know that. We've also experienced that in real time when we've done traffic studies in existing buildings that now have existed for 5 years or more against the prior use or an alternative use. What we have found is that those numbers are actually less than what the permitted use. So let's say that the Bank of America had reopened as a TD bank. The traffic generation would certainly be much more noticeable than this.
Yeah.
Because like you said, people go to work, they're either gonna walk to work, or if they drive to work, they're gonna do it once. And they're gonna come home, and they're gonna do it once. I know that technically this is still TOD because it's a half mile from the railroad. It's not as TOD as the bridge or the other ones that are literally across the platform. You can roll out of bed and be on the platform. So I don't know, to your point about who this is attracting, this may not attract the people that are going to work in Manhattan. This may attract people who work on Long Island, and now they're centrally located, in which case, I don't think they're gonna, if they're gonna be living here, they're probably not gonna take a bus. They're probably gonna drive, but you never know. But to your point, I think everything you said, for me, makes sense. There is lots of parking around, but I'd still rather be overparked than underparked. I'd rather err on the side of having too many. I know one of the, we're seeking relief on also the dimensions of the parking spots. If we lower the number, maybe we don't have to ask for relief on the dimensions of the parking spots. And I don't know if you can get into that. What relief are you seeking? Instead of 20 feet, is it 18, or what's the relief that we're seeking on the parking? so 9 by 20 is, and you're going to 9 by 18,
Or 8 by 18.
yeah. Okay, so they're a little smaller.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk to this and just give the board some, the wider the parking space typically speaks to the amount of times it's turning over. So a lot of times, like, I've worked in the past for convenience chains, and sometimes they try to vary the code to go up to 10 because of the amount of ins and outs. There's just so much activity happening that you want that extra elbow space. 18 feet length is a standard length.
Right.
You know, North Hempstead requires 20 feet long. We've gone into the town of North Hempstead and we've gotten variances for 18 because it's a standard stall length. Width, it speaks to the amount of turnover, because the more times you're opening your door on a narrower parking space, the more times you have the opportunity to hit the car next to you. Use like this is very low turnover. So 8, while it's on the small end, I mean, a car, you know, like a Honda, average Honda is about 6 feet wide from side to side. So you're not in any danger of like scraping the car, but it's a little bit less ample. But when you're not turning over the spaces as much, again, residential use, you're parking once each day, ideally, maybe twice, that friction isn't as concerning. So I think 8 would be fine for a use like this. If it was serving a commercial use, it would probably not be very comfortable for the customers.
Could I ask you what size, you referenced the Honda, it's about 6 feet. What size is like an SUV, which seems to be the car of the road?
Probably
in
like
America?
6.5 feet.
Still around 6?
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. You still have space, it's just less ample.
Any other Mr. Clark?
No.
No?
Thank you.
Trustee Solosky?
No.
No? Okay, I
Thank
think
you.
we'll open it up to public comment, and then we'll have you back up. Anyone in the second row? Come on up. What's that? And you'll have to come up, ask him, and then sorry.
Good
Good
evening,
evening.
everybody. Angela Glassman. I just was wondering if there has been any rate established for the rentals as yet.
Any rates established for the rentals as yet? Okay, we'll go through the audience, and then he'll come up and answer that question.
Okay.
Anything else, Ms. Glassman?
No, thank you.
No? Anyone in the fourth row? No? Same question, okay. Anybody in the sixth row? Anybody in the seventh row? Okay. Mr. Mann or Mr. Novak, we went through the audience, so you have one question on rates.
So we have not established rates yet, but seeing what the market is elsewhere, we expect to be a sizable discount less than that. So 1 bedroom, if you're asking me to guess at the moment, so don't hold me to it, I would say probably would be right around $3,000 a month. And then 2s, probably about $4,000 a month. But again, we have not priced the building yet, but we certainly, as I mentioned early, we're looking to not quite be as expensive as some of the buildings in and around the downtown are.
Thank you. Mr. Mann, we didn't cover this. Are there any amenities in the building for the residents other than the potential outdoor kind of amenity? Is there a gym or a room, like a meeting room, or obviously there's a lobby? Are there any rooftop amenities?
I'm looking at Bill. We haven't programmed it exactly yet, but Bill, we'll get back to that. I just wanted to add one thing from Frank when he talked about the width of parking stalls. Just to put it a little bit in perspective, ADA stalls are generally 8 feet wide. That's the accepted width of all ADA stalls in New York State. So 8 feet is not as cramped as one might think. Currently, no.
Right, so there's gonna be no rooftop amenity or anything like that? Not that I would care one way or the other, I just would think that a 40-foot building on Jericho Turnpike, probably not a high demand to put something on the roof. It's not like the bridge where you have views of the
The
skyline.
city and,
Right.
and
Okay, so,
Long Beach.
No gym?
Final determination hasn't been made yet
Okay.
of amenities.
Okay, but you'll have space, will that change the reconfiguration? Probably. Yeah,
I mean, there's no,
Room.
on these floor plans, there's no extra space, so something would have to give for that.
hey, it's those 6 units we were talking about.
There you
So
go.
just to touch on that before we conclude, 6 units doesn't sound like a lot, but when you think that 30 units, it's 20% of the unit count. That is substantial. So rather than sit here and tell you all the reasons why we may respectfully disagree, and Frank and all the other things, what I can offer up, rather than tell you again why all the expense and effort it's gonna take to preserve that facade and support the building, we came in with a proposal that we thought was reasonable, but again, rather than touch on all that, what I think we can offer to help assuage some of the board's concerns are a couple things. One, we just discussed that we can add lifts, so we could increase the capacity of the surface part of the parking lot with lifts. And then the other piece, which I've looked into and didn't even think about it for this, but it's something we could certainly offer up. There's a company called Envoy. If you think back to Zipcar, back in the early 2000s, which I don't even know if they're in business anymore, Envoy is similar, but they kind of took it to the new age level. It's an electric vehicle, and we could offer one Envoy vehicle here, and it's a shared car that anyone from the building can reserve. It's all electronic. You use your phone, you get in, use the car. So I don't have the data at my disposal, but there is data how one Envoy car ultimately can satisfy the demand of 4, I'm making up the number at the moment, but 4 people's extra car. They say, well, I don't need an extra car because the Saturday afternoon I use a car. Why do I need a car to sit there for 6 days a week? And I could use the Envoy. So that's something else we could offer up to assuage the concerns about parking.
Okay, well, we'll certainly take that under consideration. I'll also say this, that I would imagine that when you rent, when you came up with that number, there is a price per square foot, right? So if you have 19 one-bedrooms at 750, but by going down, and we said 24, but it could be 26, whatever it is, now that one bedroom could be 850 or 800 instead of 750. In other words, we're not asking you to change the footprint of the building, the square footage. So in theory, right, I mean, obviously 30 units are going to be more beneficial than 28, but how much are you losing if in those 28 or 26, you still have the same amount of square footage? Because now an 800 square foot one bedroom is gonna get you 3,200 instead of 3,000 for the 750. And, we could have that discussion back and forth. I only say because that, kind of takes concerns that the board obviously has. It also makes the parking a non-issue, and you don't have to get lifts. I'd also still like to have a discussion about the rent-controlled units. If you don't have to do them, then that could be a point where the numbers make sense to you and to us. So something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
We both have some work to do, to go back and do some research, because I do appreciate you started out with, and this is a different building, serving a different population. You're looking for different people that are coming here versus who's going to go to the bridge or Morgan Park or 1/3 Avenue or Royal Blue. It's a different animal. I appreciate that it's going to give people options. Some people may have heard your numbers and still think that that's crazy, but that's the reality that's what the market is going for. But we'll have a discussion, and you'll go back, and especially if you add amenities, if you were to add a meeting room, or if you were to add some kind of common space or room on one of these floors, then, yeah, maybe you lose a unit, but you gain on the other end because now you're able to charge more because you're offering something on the other end. So, but I do like your ideas about the shared vehicle, and I'm not so crazy about the lifts. I don't think it's a good look. I think there's a concern about, you know, who does it, who operates it, you know, insurance, liability issues, and I certainly would not want that to be a solution because it
I was gonna nominate someone from the village, given the proximity. No, I'm just.
yeah, I'll go there, I'll press the button. Any other questions from the board?
No, thank you. I just want to agree to that. The look of a lift is not Mineola. But thank you for trying to be creative, and I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Okay, Mr. Gibbons, any reason why we can't close and reserve decision?
Well, you might want to leave the record open for a unit count.
Okay. And I would also ask Mr. O'Keefe, I believe that as part of your application, you are going to have to, if you haven't done already, give us water and sewer and fire suppression. And if you have any kind
That
of
was-
irrigation for sprinklers, we are going to ask you, and where you are connecting to the sewer and the water, so that we can give that to our engineers to check if there is availability of water and sewer, correct?
A letter was submitted to Liam.
Okay,
If
okay.
it needs any additional information, you'll let me know, but yes, a letter was submitted.
So I will entertain a motion to close the hearing?
Continue.
Continue the hearing to November 12th?
Yes.
To November 12th, okay, pending, you know, more discussion. So I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing to November 12th and leave the record open. And anyone who's out there, you can show up back here on November 12th. You can submit any questions or concerns or opinions in writing as well. The record will remain open to November 12th. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Motion by trustee Clark. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by deputy mayor Sartori. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank
and we'll
you.
see you soon.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to close the hearings.
Motion?
Motion by trustee Casado. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Clark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll be right out for our work session. Just give you a few minutes to clear. Thank you. Wasn't so bad. I thought, yeah.
Hello, how are you?